Road to 2023. 30 influential politicians to watch. Nigeria's 2023 general election is going to happen in about a year time. The incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to hand over to a new democratically elected government by 2023. As expected, many politicians began to eye the highly exalted position even before Buhari was sworn in for a second term. While a few of these politicians have presidential ambitions public, a good number of others have been using allies to test the murky waters. Politics, they say, is an interesting game. A whole lot of uncertainties have continued to bedevil analysts who have found it quite difficult to make concrete predictions. Issues such as zoning, micro-zoning and maybe electoral reforms, which has largely remained unresolved, have left political watchers in a limbo as to where the pendulum would eventually swing. This perhaps explains why a good number of presidential hopefuls are being overly cautious and biding their time. No one would want to put the wrong foot first in a delicate situation such as this. The interesting thing is that 2022 would usher in something entirely different. All these presidential hopefuls must have to come public, the cards must have to be laid bare, and the permutations would have to be put in motion. As Nigerians head into 2022, one thing that is very certain is that the agitation for the presidential tickets in the two major parties, which are the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and the All Progressives Congress (APC), would usher in a chain of events in the first quarter of the year which would eventually culminate in who wins the next presidential election to become president in 2023. Let's take a brief walk down memory lane to put some things in their right contexts. Ever since Nigeria returned to civilian rule in 1999, we doubt if there is any elections which would be keenly contested like what we would be witnesses in 2023. From every indication, the race to 2023 would easily be the fiercest, most contested, and to some good extent the most controversial in Nigeria ever since the return of democracy. Many political watchers would recall that in 1999, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo actually became president, not because he was popular, or a seasoned politician. In fact, it was very much permissible to classify him as a political neophyte at that time. But then again, what Nigeria needed at that point in time was a pair of steady hands supported with someone who was firm enough, someone with the right connections and necessary experience to pull the faltering ship of state away from the brinks, which was partly occasioned by the evil annulment of the 1993 presidential poll, which is often regarded as the best elections Nigeria has had in its inconsistent history. The truth is that, on that mandate, Obasanjo delivered. However, politics pushed him into troubled waters when his succession plans became a topic. The ugly third-term politics, the bitter row with his streetwise vice president, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and his eventual open endorsement of Alhaji Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, despite knowing his health status, all left dents. After Yar'Adua's death, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, who succeeded him, would have the law, and a few people to thank, people who insisted that the right thing has to be done. Jonathan's presidency marked a turning point and indeed, a historic landmark for the country Nigeria. It was a clear statement that Nigeria was actually a land where dreams come true, where a man who couldn't afford to wear shoes to school could rise to become the #1 citizen in the land. 2015 ushered in the forces of an elite conspiracy and ethno-religious myopism that actually pulled off well-oiled propaganda, propelled the campaign against the Jonathan presidency, and eventually succeeded in booting him out of office. Yes, it was true that Jonathan's ambition went head-to-head with the zoning arrangement in the PDP, but then, many analysts believed that 4 more years for someone from a minority ethnic group who may never get the opportunity again in centuries wouldn't have done too much damage to Nigeria. Jonathan was succeeded by the current president, Muhammadu Buhari. Buhari himself, who is a former military head of state, had contested to be president of Nigeria a record 3 times: 1999, 2007, and 2011. His hustle eventually paid off in 2015. He was catapulted into office by a naive electorate who had bought his manager's highly enticing promise of change and hope for a better country. He became the rallying point for great expectations as at then, and that was how he saw himself sitting on the presidential seat in Aso Rock. Please endeavor to subscribe so that you don't miss any part of these series.